Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth-running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed our last episode. And if you missed it and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on my YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. And if you'd like to receive notifications on when our podcasts have been uploaded, please like and subscribe. Now, let's learn a little bit about my guest today. Scott Warrick is a practicing employment law attorney, human resource professional, and best-selling author with 40 years of hands-on experience. Scott uses his unique background to help organizations get where they want to go, which includes coaching and training managers and employees on site in his own unique, practical, and entertaining style. So, Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I am looking forward to our conversation. And before I get into any questions that I have on the topic, I would love for you to tell me just a little bit more about yourself and how did you begin training on emotional intelligence?
Well, first of all, I've been a human resource guy for over 40 years. So I was in human resources all throughout the 80s, and everything was becoming so legalistic. I mean, think about when I started, you could sexually harass people and that was legal. There were no I-9 forms, there was no ADA, there was no FMLA. So I went back to law school because I'm thinking, look, every step I make, it seems like I'm stepping on a landmine. So I went back to law school, did real well in law school, and went to work for a law firm. And it was just really interesting to me when I'm looking through all these cases that we had. It's like, well, I could have prevented that. I could have prevented that. And the bottom line is, and I learned, one day I'll write a book about what it is like to practice law in these big firms. You do not make money by making lawsuits go away. You make money by litigating. So, and that's where the big bucks is. So I almost got fired once for making a lawsuit go away, for going and getting everybody to calm down and showing the other side. Let me just clue you in. I train people in how to document, how to coach, keeping your cool, which is emotional intelligence. And if you do those things, you've got the documentation to show why you did what you did, but you also don't blow things up. Well, I went in, shared everything we had with the other side. My law firm had already told the other client, we're not going to turn anything over to them. We're not going to turn anything over to them because they'll get everything in deposition. Well, yeah, depositions and discovery, then you're also going to pay us $500-600 an hour. Okay, so I made everything go away. We settled it for about $1,200 or something like that. I almost got fired. And I realized right then some of the biggest emotional children that I've worked with in my entire life are partners in law firms. And I'll tell you, so I got it started on the emotional intelligence track because so many of the partners that I saw in these law firms, the law firm I worked for had a big row hall of fame and was showing all these great lawyers. They were all dead by the time they were 60.
Wow.
Yeah, 55, 56, 42, 59. And I'm like, something's going on here. And it's just the way, actually, just let you know, self-medicating, that's what our soldiers do. And it's killing lawyers left and right. And so that's how I got started on the emotional intelligence stuff, which then led me into my own PTSD, which was how to heal the human brain. So it's all just a big, put it this way, it's one disaster after another in my life, trying to find ways to cope.
Okay. So, well, and I know today, obviously we're talking about emotional intelligence and the topic includes the abbreviation EPR. So I'd love for you to say, what is that actually?
Yeah, that's a great segue because, first of all, picture a baseball diamond. And as you can see behind me, I'm a big baseball fan. So I think people like analogies, and 60% of the human brain is dedicated to vision. So we're visual learners. Okay. And I love this. I'll have somebody say, well, I'm a visual learner. I'm like, yeah, you and 7 billion other people on the planet. Okay. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. Picture a baseball diamond. First base is emotional intelligence. And I'm going to give you a real Reader's Digest slimmed down definition. Can you control your emotions and ego? And I'll tell you, watch the news. If you cannot control your emotions, your ego, like the rules don't apply to me, and then Congress starts to investigate you. You look at all these disasters. Napoleon at Waterloo, no pun intended, but got too big for his britches. Okay. So if you can control yourself, and there's all kinds of techniques that you need to do to keep your brain calm. If you can think of your brain like an organ, like it is, and use the techniques and have a healthy brain, well, you can sit back and you relax and you can coach somebody. Okay. So that's first base. That's the hardest thing. Then you get to second base. And those are those EPR skills: empathic listening, parroting, and rewards. Okay. Now, I've seen a lot of different conflict resolution formulas out there. And I'll tell you, most of them are just too much. And when I was researching my first book, I found books out there on the, 10 steps of conflict resolution. Oh, come on. You're trying to teach somebody who's a first line supervisor how to address and resolve conflict. And I'll tell you, if you fill up more than 3 or 4 fingers, they won't remember, because you're on the heat of battle and everything. So you're going to sit down with the employee. You're going to chill. You're going to get your heart rate down. You're going to slow down the way you talk. Then it's E is empathic listening, P is parroting, and R are rewards. It's just like CPR, but EPR. And so, and I've had great success with this because it's just so sickeningly simple. So I would sit down with you if we were having an issue, and I'll give you a great example, real life example: highly emotional, highly political, highly religious. Okay. And something your people should know is our emotions are much faster than our logical brain. We are emotional people. Our emotion, and that's going all the way back to Fred Flintstone. Okay. Fred, when he was attacked by a human or another animal, didn't have time to think. So our emotions can kick in 17 thousandths of a second. Now think of that. That's lightning. So I got to slow everything down. Now I got to listen. Now think how we usually try to address and resolve conflict. So the way you start a conflict with somebody, and I love this because I hear from so many managers, if I could just get started, I'd be okay. Great. This is perfect for you. You sit down and you shut up. Empathic listening. I sit down and say, okay, I heard from the owner a little bit what's happening, but tell me what's happening. Now, do you ever think you'd start a conversation like that? Okay. So, but I listen. Now, in empathy, this has all the stuff of active listening. Okay. So I got to listen, not from my perspective, but from their perspective. Empathy. Okay. Now, let me ask you, here's where we get in a lot of trouble these days. Do they have a right to their opinion?
They have a right to their opinion.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I will tell you, in most organizations, if I have a different opinion on something, what are the chances somebody's going to smack me? Or get a spork in the head, you know? That's tolerance. That's tolerance. Okay, so understand, and this is where I get a lot of leeway with a lot of folks, and this is why the programs work. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I'm going to tell you how to behave. So you don't believe whatever you, if you want to be pro-life, you be pro-life. If you want to be pro-choice, you be pro-choice. You want to be pro-Trump, you want to be pro-Biden, knock yourself out. Okay, highly emotional. Okay, so I got to pay these people respect. So empathic listening, then I got to parrot it back because they've explained everything. And understand, this parroting is really critical. Every mediation that I go into, and I've been mediating for 30 years, every mediation I've ever gone into, I will turn to one side of the table and I'll say, okay, I want you over here to tell me where these folks are coming from to their satisfaction. Okay. In 30 years, how many times do you think one side of the table has been able to tell me to their satisfaction where the other side's coming from?
Well, I would
Yeah.
say from the start, probably not well, but maybe through some extra time of working with them, like they'll do better.
Yeah. You would think, wouldn't you think that okay, I'm gonna try to work this out. I'm gonna try. Most of us, our listening skills are horrendous. They don't exist. They listen like lawyers. And I tell you, if you ever watch somebody, you can always tell, you watch their eyes or something like this, they're not listening to you. See, when you're listening to somebody, you got to look right at them and you got to really focus, because you see, I got to parrot this back to you to your satisfaction. And understand, this is all customer service too. Okay. So if they were really listening to each other and parroting things back to each other, I wouldn't be there. They would have been able to settle it on their own. So I'm going to parrot it back. This shows these women that I really am listening. And it also proves that I'm paying respect to them. And just as a little note, this is the best CYA thing you will ever run into. A lot of times when we get disagreements or something like this, I'll have, it's kind of funny, I'll have someone say, well, that was just a miscommunication. I'm sure that was a miscommunication. And man, I stop it right now and say, I do not have miscommunications. That does not happen with me, because I repeated it back to you. You told me that I got it. Now, are you lying now, or were you lying then? Okay, so it just wraps all this stuff up. So I would say, okay, let me make sure I got this, because I want to make sure I'm tracking you. Do I understand? If they say no, tell me again. And if they say yeah, we're done with the E and the P. Completely done. Okay, so I'm understanding them, they're understanding me. Now I got to give them a reward, because I'm going to disagree with them. See, if I agree with them, I'm a big hero. I'm like, yeah, you're right. She's evil. We should get the wood and burn her now. You know, they just think I'm great. But no, I'm not going to say that. But they've got a right to their opinion. I'm going to give you a reward every time I disagree with you. Because remember, these are humans. All humans can turn on you in 17 thousandths of a second. So I'm going to say, I see where you're coming from, and you've got a right to your belief. I will fight to the death. Your right to your belief. This is still America, and you got a right to believe whatever you want to believe. But let's talk a little bit about your behavior. Okay? I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you. Here's the whole thing. This gets us to third base. They know it's safe to disagree with me. That's trust. But you kind of see, every time I disagree with somebody, that builds trust. So it's very simple. First base, control yourself. Second base, EPR, EPR, EPR. And with my clients, I want that stapled on their liver. I want them to use their EPR skills with customers, with their families. The number one skill that you will have in this world for building relationships is addressing and resolving conflict. And the problem we've got is most people are tied to fight or flight. Most people would rather not say anything, and then when you're not around, stab you in the back. Okay. I'll tell you, that's the number one cause of divorce in this country. Number one. People go to marriage counselors. I get this right from the marriage counselors when they sit in my sessions. Marriage counselors sit there and they say people come in at $150 an hour to talk about things they should have been talking about at the kitchen table for the last 5 years. Well, and I got marriage counselors using this system because it's so simple. So I came about with that so that we could address and resolve conflict. And my client, I'll tell you right now, in 27 years of practicing law, when my clients follow what I show them to do and tell them to do, I've never had a client sued. Never. They've always resolved.
Right. Well, I think that's what is important for people to understand in the workplace, because that's what we're talking about here today too, is that, like you said, there's always going to be somebody there that you may not see eye to eye with, but it's working respectfully with each other and understanding everyone has their own opinions or beliefs or systems, but that those are protected, you know, and so we have to be careful not to step on each other's toes.
Yeah. And let me ask you, you and I, we're going to get a map of the whole United States, and I'm going to have you throw a dart, and you're going to hit someplace on the map. and we're going to go to that city, and we're going to go into any lunchroom, and we're going to bring in pizza for everybody, the best pizzeria in town. We're going to bring it in, and we're going to sit down, and we're going to have a good, open, honest discussion on gun control. What do you think? Good idea?
No.
I will tell you, you and I, our society, are becoming more and more and more scared, more caveman and woman-like. We're reverting, and it isn't safe to voice your opinion anymore. And let me just sort of tap all this off. 75%, depending on just about any poll you see, 75% of Americans are miserable at work. They feel like they're being bullied. Talk about the law. The EEOC in 2016 changed all the guidelines and all the requirements for your harassment training. All of them, because we got to prevent this bullying. And the EEOC saw these claims just skyrocketing. If you filed a claim with the EEOC for age, race, gender, whatever, and you went to your phone and you filed it with the EEOC, it would take them 8 to 10 months to even look at your file. They're 50,000 cases behind. We are becoming an intolerant world. And this even equates into, you disagree with me. Our mass shootings have skyrocketed. They've doubled since 2018. Okay. Last year, we averaged 1.8 mass shooting every day in America. Okay. So this stuff that I'm talking about here, you spend more time at work than any place else. The American Psychological Association says it is the greatest benefit to your mental health, or it is the greatest curse. Because and for 75%, it's the greatest curse because they aren't safe. My thing with employers is change the culture. It's safe to work here. It's safe to disagree. If Candy wants to go out and, I don't know, you're going to vote for Bernie. Let's just say Bernie's going to, run again, and Candy's going to vote for Bernie. And I'm like, man, my man is Nixon. I don't care if he's dead. I'm going to vote for him. He's better dead than what we got alive. It's okay. Now, can you see first base? Can you see the ego coming out? How dare you disagree with me? How dare you do this? I will tell you, I'm 62 years old. Okay, I could retire. What am I going to do? I mean, really, what am I going to do? Play with my baseball bats? I mean, come on. I see the world going down a road, and we got to stop it. So your podcast here of showing people how to address and resolve conflicts saves their mental health. It saves their marriages. Going into work every day with people that it's okay to disagree with, that you're treated with respect. And what respect? EPR. That's therapy. That's therapy. That releases. Have you ever gone to work? And I'm sure you have. Ever gone to work, Candy, and the whole day just shoots by, like you don't know where it went, and you feel really good. You're tired, but you feel really good at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yes.
You change the entire chemistry in your body from distress chemicals, which is adrenaline and cortisol, to eustress chemicals. You've released oxytocin throughout your body. That's the loving chemical. Okay. Serotonin cures depression. Endorphins, painkillers, dopamine, the motivation drug, and something called telomerase. Telomerase is this goo that your body secretes when you're around good people and you like what you're doing, surrounds your DNA and keeps you from aging. That's Betty White. We want to be like Betty White. So, you do important work here, and I really want people to stop and listen, that they need to create workplaces that are tolerant. Okay. So we got to learn how to work with each other.
Right. I mean, I see that too. I mean, on social media too, you see people just like really being mean to each other because you don't have the same opinions on things. And it's like, we used to be okay with each other having different opinions, and it's sad to see that. And I believe a lot of people too, when they're saying they don't enjoy going to work, it's not because they think it's boring work, but it's because of the conflict that they're having to deal with at work, or they're not expressing themselves freely, because they're afraid to say anything. And so I think that's where a lot of it comes from. So if we can have these conversations and respect each other's opinions and realize it's okay to agree to disagree, right? We may have different opinions on things, but we can respect each other. I think that's important.
You got it. You got it. And honestly, this big push these days, which I think is great. I've been teaching diversity and tolerance for 20 years. I mean, I've spoken all over the country on this stuff. My second book was on tolerance. And I love the definition that we get from SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management. One of the aspects of diversity is cognitive diversity.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? I call it diversity of ideas. It's okay to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's like at NASA. If you ever study Challenger in Columbia, you'll see real quick that the rocket engineers who spoke up about Challenger said, hey, there's a problem with the O-rings. Every single one of them who spoke up got fired.
Mm.
Now you got really just a bunch of white guys, but you got all this diversity going on in a difference of ideas. And I tell you, it was not safe at NASA. It wasn't safe for the astronauts, and it wasn't safe for the rocket engineers to speak up, because when they did, they got fired. And then come Columbia. Now there's a problem with Columbia. How many of the rocket engineers you think are going to speak up now? They saw what happened, corporate capital punishment to all their buddies who got fired. Nobody said a word, and we really murdered another 7 astronauts. And there's a woman, let me just get her name in here, Sharon Wong. I love this woman. I heard her speak 20 years ago. This woman is the one who spearheaded the whole change at NASA, that it's okay to disagree. Diversity is diversity of ideas. It's okay. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be black. It's okay to be Wiccan. Are you a good witch or a bad witch? It's okay. All right. It's okay to disagree. The people because I just live pretty close. I've been up to the John Glenn NASA Center up in Northern Ohio. They say it is a completely different place. Completely different place. I mean, it's a great place to work now. It's okay to disagree. And it's wonderful because I see Sharon Wong jumping from organization to organization, just spreading all kinds of great cultures everywhere. And she says the same stuff that I say. And I got a lot. I'll tell you right now, I stole a lot of this right from NASA and Sharon Wong, because it works. Okay, we include everybody. I'm not going to exclude anyone. So, it's very simple. Control your ego, okay, and EPR. Have you seen Ted Lasso? Have you seen any of that show?
No.
I heard so much about it.
I don't really watch much TV.
My wife and I heard so much about it, and I like Jason Sudeikis anyway. So we actually broke down and we signed up for Apple TV and we got it. That's his whole thing. Addressing conflict, but doing it in a very respectful manner. And it builds relationships. And that's what work is, really, isn't it? You're in the relationship business. Okay. People I'll tell you, you build relationships with people, they will walk through fire for you. They're your friend now. So every conflict that we have is a chance to control our ego, control our emotions, use our EPR skills, and build trust. So rather than burying it, if we bury it and passive aggressive, you will kill your relationships, all of them. And if you're the fight, attack, like Simon Cowell, okay? Now the stereotypical Simon Cowell, I don't really know Simon. He doesn't come over for lunch or anything like that. So, but if you follow that type of stereotype, you'll destroy every relationship that you're in. So this is what we're trying to do. And I'll tell you, I have seen some of my clients go from about 80% of their employees on psychiatric medications down to like 60, 50, because people are getting into what they're doing. Okay, they love their job. And when they say they love their job, they like their coworkers. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Well, and I think too, there's probably some personalities that this comes a little bit easier than others, too, right? So there's going to be some learning techniques maybe that they have to implement to help them, like I said, not just react, right? But like take a moment, take a deep breath, like realize like
Oh,
okay, they're probably not trying to personally attack me, right? I might
right,
be interpreting something that way, but like,
right,
but some may be a little bit more empathetic, right? Versus saying like,
right,
okay, I'm just going to react, right? And so I think, some people may have to really work harder at this whole process,
right,
to be able to do, like you said, the whole EPR and having the conflict resolution, but it's worth trying, right? And implementing
right,
and making it better for everyone.
right. And you hit it right on the head. We have introverts, we have extroverts, and
Mhm.
and and understand, if you're under a great amount of stress, this is just another piece that comes in. If you're under a great amount of stress, put it this way: if you are under stress because your phone doesn't work, I mean, honest to God, most people would rather lose a kidney than lose their phone. I mean, holy cow, I got another kidney. Or your car won't start. Okay, that'll give you stress. And I always hear this: oh, I've got so much work to do. You can handle it. You know what you can't handle? You and I know, our brain knows our cell phone ain't going to kill us. Okay, our coffee cup is not going to kill us. That other human, when you go to work and you're stabbed in the back by another human, or they attack you verbally, that releases 3 times the cortisol and adrenaline in your system.
Mhm.
Okay, that will burn your brain to a crisp. Now understand, your kidneys sit right here, okay, right back here, and your adrenal glands sit on top of those. So everything can be explained biologically and neurologically. So if you understand what's happening in your body, you can help control it. So and here's a question that I'll ask. Let me ask you: have you ever had a day working with somebody? Have you ever worked a job where you're just really upset, keeps going through your head, and 2, 3, 4 in the morning, you'll wake up all mad?
Well, thankfully, I haven't had to work with anyone like that in a
Yeah,
very long time.
yeah, yeah. But
But yeah, your body does, it continues, even if you think you're sleeping, right? Your body's still kind of in that mode,
oh,
right?
you never shut your brain off. Okay.
Hmm.
So actually, when you dream at night, you go into REM sleep. That's when your brain is actually cleaning all the excess cortisol and adrenaline out, cleaning it up like little
Mm.
sweepers come out. Okay. But that is killing you. And I'll tell you, I scare people because I say, you want to create a good environment at work. You want to do this because this is how our soldiers get PTSD in a very short period of time. Well, if you're out in the middle of a war zone and somebody's shooting at you, holy, okay, you're going to release 3 times the cortisol and adrenaline in your body. 20% of that goes to your brain. Now,
Mm.
really think about this. Your brain, our brains feel like soft room temperature butter. It's very soft. If you want to see what a concussion is, get a little tub of margarine or butter, set it out on the counter overnight, and then in the morning, drop it on the ground. Open it up, and you'll see how it's all sloshed over to the side. That is a concussion. And there's
Mm.
no such thing as a small concussion. No such thing.
Right.
Okay. So if I am really upset with somebody and I attack them, your body does not recognize the difference between a saber-toothed tiger, someone with an AK-47, and someone yelling at you over your expense report.
Hmm.
I just explained to you why the American Psychological Association says the greatest threat to your mental health is your job.
Mm.
And
Right.
I'll tell you, so I want to create good environments for you. Some people have to work harder at the EPR skills. And you hit another excellent point. A lot of people go to the negative, don't they?
Hmm.
Just go right to the, okay. Well, let me ask you, you and I, okay, you and I, we're out in the field. It's beautiful. It's not rainy. Okay. It's just a beautiful field. And we see a unicorn. I mean, a mythical unicorn. And I'm getting my phone because we're going to be rich. Okay. I'm going to get a picture of this thing. And then a bear comes out. A common, everyday grizzly bear comes running at us, which can run 35 miles an hour. So you and I got a haul. Okay. So we just run. Okay. We run, get back in the Jeep, close the door, and the bear crashes into us, and we drive all the way back to the office. Okay. Let me ask you, when you get to the office, what's the first thing you're going to tell everybody about?
Probably the bear.
The bear, okay? You got two little balls. And I tell people this, look, you got two little balls here that always go to the negative. They're called your basal ganglias. We're wired to go to the negative. Why? Because it kept us alive thousands of years ago. That's why when we're pulling out somewhere and it's a one-way street, we still look both ways. Okay, because, hey, that might not be safe. Okay, and so I'm giving the people a break. Oh, I always go to the negative. Yeah, you're human. You're human. So what you got to do? Your first reaction to when someone disagrees with you is always wrong. Always wrong. Because we're wired to go to the negative, and we're not wired to address and resolve conflict. We're wired for fight or flight. Fred Flintstone was wired to pick up a rock and Barney. That's what he was wired to do. And that's, if our ancestors weren't wired like that, we wouldn't be here. Okay? That worked great thousands of years ago. It doesn't work so good today. And for some of the people out there that are creationists or something like this, I'm telling you, we have not evolved. So don't get upset with me. Okay? I'm saying we have not evolved. Okay? So everything you're saying is exactly the way we humans react. So of course you're going to go to the negative. That's okay. That's why you got to take that beat. I'm going to take a breath to get more oxygen into my brain, and I'm going to stop and think. Don't do that. And why don't I want to do that? Let's wrap it all up. It's good for me. It's for me. If I'm a passive aggressive stabbing people in the back, that's going to kill me. And I mean, that is the greatest threat to your health. 80% of all trips to the doctor's office are distress related. All. I mean, we could get more good positive energy. And it's up to you. It's not up to your boss. It's not up to whatever, your coworker. It's up to you. And I'll hear people say, well, what if they don't do this? What if they do that? Then walk away. What's Ted Lasso do? Smiles and walks away. Walk away. You got to be like Betty White. Betty White. Betty White, my aunt knew Betty White, which I was really blessed because she said, she great sense of humor. She would get angry because she's human, but she didn't go from 0 to 60 with her temper. Okay. She would throw little quips out that were funny if she was upset or something like this. But that woman took care of her body, took care of her brain. Her brain, man, she was sharp as a tack right up until she passed away at almost 100 years old. Right. Okay. So, I'll tell you, you and I, the neurons in our brain have a life expectancy of 120 years. Now think about that. You should never lose your short-term memory. Wow, that's just getting older. No. In your 60s, 70s, you're just barely halfway. But we burn our brain out with all of this distress and the way we react. So, no, I mean, the meditation helps rewire your brain. There's all kinds of techniques I give people to do to control. Remember, I said first base, emotional intelligence is the hardest thing you'll ever do. That's tough. Right. So it's this focusing, it's calming down. Actually, I will tell you right now, the fastest way to build your level of emotional intelligence, according to the University of Findlay, is to study martial arts. It's focus. Americans think, you use it to kill people. No, it is mental focus. It's very good focus for your brain. So, you can go way down this rabbit hole, and there's all kinds of things that people need to learn. But to keep it very simple, a baseball diamond. Emotional intelligence, EPR, builds trust. And that, I'll tell you, when you keep it simple like that, that it's a great way for people to practice it. So what I'll do is I'll go in, like say you and I were in class. I would pair us up, okay? You would be somebody with a problem. I would be the manager to sit down and try to solve it. We would role play this. Role play it. That way people practice and practice and practice. It's a lot like learning how to hit a curveball. If we bring people in, we show them what a curveball does, and sometimes what it doesn't do and hits you, you'd show them. But then, okay, to learn to hit a curveball, what do you and I have to do after we've learned how to do it?
Watch the ball.
Yeah,
I
watch the
guess.
ball real close. Yeah. And you got to get out there and do it. You got to do it
Mm,
1,000 times. And it's funny, I just finished with a client. We went and we explained all this stuff to everybody. And then we practiced it for like the next 3 hours to practice and practice and practice and practice
mhm.
and practice. And why is it worth it? Because I want a good work environment to go into every day, and I'll live longer. I'll enjoy
Right.
it. Yeah. I'll give you one more
Mhm.
little tidbit is the latest book by Johnny Taylor, who's president of SHRM. Great stats in there. He's very data driven, which I love. If I don't have a study or something to back it up to prove it, I don't rely on it. He said more Google searches into companies are checking out your culture than are checking out your pay scales.
Mm.
Money's important. Don't get me wrong. Money's important. But I'll tell you right now, I got clients that are nonprofit agencies that have like 95% of all their positions full, and they pay less than anybody. I've got
Mhm.
doctors' offices. I love this. I got doctors' offices that are taking all kinds of medical personnel from the local hospital that pays a lot more, much better benefits, because they're not going to put up with all of this. And so I've got a doctor's office in Northern Ohio with 2% vacancies.
Mm.
2%. So if you're a business owner, oh, this is a no-brainer, because I will tell you, as of February, Bureau of Labor, BLR, Bureau of Labor Research, stat, 1.9 jobs. There's 1.9 jobs for every unemployed person in this country. You are literally going to be fighting over people. And if you don't provide
Mhm.
a safe environment, you're not going to be here. The baby boomers are
Right.
retiring. Yeah. So yeah, business has got to start thinking about creating safe environments.
Right. Well, while you were talking this whole time, my whole thought process was, of course you want to do this to make sure, like you said, that you have a safe place and there's not the
Mhm.
conflict, so the other people who are working there as well, are getting along with everyone, and you don't want to do something that's going to get you sued. But like you said, in the long run, it's for your own benefit, right? For your own health. And so that was a great takeaway, I think, too, about this whole conversation is, why do you want to be able to like listen and understand and have empathy and avoid the
Yeah.
conflict or resolve the conflict, but it's, overall it's a benefit for everybody. So I
Oh, you're
think that
so
was a
right.
great discussion, you know,
Oh, you're so
but I know
right.
we're running short on time. So I wanted to ask if you have an offer that you would like to share with our listeners.
Yeah, and as you probably tell, I get really excited over this stuff. I really do. I love what I do. As long as my body holds out, I'll keep talking about this stuff because it really enriches people's lives. It really does. And I see the results. So I post, if you go to scottwarrick.com, real easy, SCOTTWARRICK, or just Google me, Scott Warrick. My website will come up. And at the top, you'll see all these little buttons and things and drop down menus. Go to free resources. Free resources. The drop down menu has more videos on all of these types of things than you can imagine. So, under the Lunch and Learns, I have things on diversity, on tolerance, on EPR, okay, on bullies, how we deal with bullies, all kinds of stuff I give away for free. And all of those are waiting for your people. And I will tell you, every month, sometimes a couple times a month, I do half-hour Lunch and Learns for free. So if you go to my website, click on Scott's webinars, sign up for free, and you'll get an invite. They start at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And I used to do a breakfast thing, but my clients on the West Coast out in California and Colorado, they're not going to get up at 6 a.m. to attend a 9 o'clock
Mhm.
Eastern Standard. So we start at noon. So I got folks from all over the country. And I will tell you, I get real excited over them because they help people. And that honestly, and I'll tell you, I'm a PTSD survivor. The more you do for other people, the more eustress chemicals you get in your brain. And it's
Mhm.
better than Wellbutrin. Okay. And there's tons of studies of veterans and all kinds of other people who volunteer to help other people where their PTSD is greatly improved, if not cured. And honestly, let me just leave them on that note. Just because you have some type of mental disorder does not mean that your brain cannot rewire itself, because it will if you let it. And I have clinical proof. I've got the photographs to show. I've got a lot of clients and myself where our brains are much improved, and a lot of my brain is actually cured. The redness, the inflammation is completely gone. So you kind of see, Candy, you're my therapy for today. You let me talk about this stuff. You let me share this stuff. And it just makes me feel so good. I just love doing it. And that's better than a pill any day.
Nice. Well, if anyone has additional questions or they want to reach out, to connect with you, how else can they find you besides your website?
Well, website's probably best. If you just Google my name, my phone number is there. My email address is scott@scottwarrick.com. So that's pretty easy. Scott@scottwarrick.com. And I get questions from all over the place on all kinds of different things. I will get back to you. Absolutely. I love putting this stuff out there so people can use it.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Scott, for being a guest on my show and talking about this topic. I really appreciate your spending your time with me today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thank you for the listeners for tuning in today. I hope you found this discussion interesting and enjoyed the topic, creating a safe working environment, emotional intelligence plus EPR equals conflict resolution. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Scott at the link that he shared, or send me a message, media@abandp.com. I hope you can join me for my next interview. And remember, you can connect with me on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. And you can find the show Biz Help for You on multiple favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And would you please share our show with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? I'd really appreciate your support. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.